Good morning, fourth graders. It's Mrs. Kenney again. It is Friday morning, and I'm looking outside my window, and it is still raining and yucky out, which is really disappointing. But I've heard it's going to be a beautiful weekend, and so I hope that means you guys are going to get outside and do something fun in the outdoors. It's hard staying at home all the time, I know. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue the book that I read to you earlier this week. It's called Sea Dog, and if you remember, it's about a boy named Kyle and his mom who go out on the beach to look for treasures after a big storm. And after the storm, they find a mound that they think might be a seal or something, but it ends up being a dog. And so they work together to bring the dog home. So today I'm going to read you a little bit more of this story, and I'm going to ask you a couple different questions as we go along. All right, here we go. Chapter 3. Early the next morning, Kyle opened his eyes. Two brown eyes stared back at him. "Treasure!" he cried. "You're better!" Treasure licked Kyle's nose. Her tongue felt warm and sticky. Outside, sun sparkled on a rippled sea. "Let's walk along the beach," Kyle said after breakfast. Kyle took his walking stick from the wheelbarrow. Treasure sat and barked at it. He gave the stick to Treasure and she ran away. She bounded into the water. Kyle ran to the water's edge. By then, Treasure was a long way from shore. "Treasure," he called, "come back." A lone white boat sailed far out on the rippled sea. Treasure's nose pointed toward it, but the boat sailed further and further away. Kyle ran into the water. It was cold on his legs. "Treasure," he called. At last, Treasure turned around and swam back. She still had the stick in her mouth. After that, Kyle hurried home from school every day. He always took Treasure for a walk along the beach. She always carried the same stick. She always went swimming, but she never swam so far from shore again. Sometimes Kyle went out with his dad, but it wasn't the same. When Kyle came home, he always felt sad. He always took Treasure for a walk on the beach. She helped him feel less lonely. Spring came and the days grew longer. One warm, sunny afternoon, Kyle took Treasure for a walk. For once, she didn't run into the water. Instead, she streaked along the beach. She still carried her stick in her mouth. "Treasure, come back," Kyle called, but the dog paid no attention. She ran along the sandbar, and Kyle ran after her. He saw Treasure leaping around a tall man. The man carried a pipe in his mouth. He had a big gray beard. Treasure dropped her stick. She leaped up and down and quivered with excitement. The man took the pipe from his mouth. He crouched down and put his arms around the dog. Treasure licked his face. "By gum, it's you, Otter. I can't believe it. You oughter be drowned." The man looked at Kyle. There were tears in his eyes. "Thank you for finding my dog," he said. Kyle looked at the man. He felt scared and angry. This man wanted to take Treasure away? "Her name's Treasure, not Otter, and she's my dog, not yours." "Kyle," his mom called. She ran toward them. Kyle watched his mom and tried not to cry. "Is there a problem here?" she asked. "That man says Treasure is his dog." Kyle pointed at the man. "Hi," the man said. He smiled. "I'm Bill. I'm so happy to see my dog again. She fell overboard in a big storm. I searched for her a long, long time. Finally, I gave up. I thought she had drowned." "She's my treasure," Kyle shouted. "I found her on the beach. She was all wrapped up in seaweed." Bill smiled again. "That's my Otter. She's a great old sea dog." "She's my dog," Kyle shouted. "Here, Treasure." Treasure licked Kyle's face. Bill stopped smiling. "I'd say we have a problem here." "Please come back to our house," Mom said. "I'll make coffee and we can talk." Kyle didn't want to talk to Bill. Bill was not a nice man. He wanted to take Treasure away. Treasure picked up her stick. She walked between Kyle and Bill. Her tail wagged all the way back to the house. Mom and Bill sat in the kitchen. Kyle took Treasure into his room. He packed some clothes in his school bag. "Shh," he whispered. "We're going to find my dad. He'll let me keep you." They tiptoed to the front door. Bill's voice drifted down the hall. Kyle heard two words, "Lady Tia." Treasure stopped. Her ears perked up. She turned and ran to the kitchen. Bill laughed. "You love the Lady Tia, don't you, Otter?" Kyle moved closer to the kitchen door. He waited for Treasure to come back. Bill sighed. My boat is for sale, he said. I didn't feel much like sailing her after I lost Otter. I missed her too much. Why did you name her Otter? Mom asked. Bill chuckled. Because she swims like an otter. She's the best sea dog that ever lived. Tell us about her, Mom said. Kyle crept into the kitchen. He leaned on a wall and sank to the floor. He pulled his knees to his chest and stared straight ahead. He didn't want to hear Bill's story, but he couldn't leave without Treasure. Bill leaned back in his chair. He rubbed a hand over his gray beard. Then he started to talk. Chapter 5. First, I will tell you about my daughter Tia. When Tia was 7, I bought a beautiful sailboat. I named it Lady Tia. When we were on the sailboat, Tia always called me Captain Bill. We were happy sailing together. Year after year, Tia grew. She grew bigger and older. The time came when she needed to move far away. Before she left, she came to say goodbye. We sat on the deck of the Lady Tia. I have a special gift for you, she said. In her arms was a tiny, wiggly black bundle. What is it? I asked. This is a very special puppy. She was born on a boat and she loves the sea. Well, I didn't want a puppy, but I didn't want to disappoint Tia. She was trying to make things better for me. Thank you, I said. Goodbye, Captain Bill. Tia gave me a big hug. I'll always miss sailing with you. Then she went away. The puppy wiggled in my arms. I almost dropped her overboard, so I took her down the ladder. I put her on a bunk inside the Tia Leah. I climbed back up the ladder. I sat on my deck and puffed on my pipe. The wind blew at my back. I smelled the crisp, salty air. Outside the harbor, choppy waves called to me, "Come sail with us. Come sail with us." I didn't want to hear. Lady Tia was sparkly clean. Her sails were ready to raise, but I didn't feel like sailing. Well, old girl, I rubbed my hands along her shiny wood trim. I reckon it's time I sold you. Lady Tia shuddered in the wind. Her lines clattered fast and hard against the mast. Clang, 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 clang. I always loved that sound. It made me want to untie Lady Tia. It made me long to sail a windswept sea. I loved the creak and groan of the rigging. I loved the way Lady Tia sliced through the waves. She sailed faster than the wind blew. I loved the soft, cool touch of the salt spray on my face. But not that day. That day I sat on deck and puffed on my pipe. I listened to waves slap, slap, slapping against the clean white hull. I looked out the narrow gap that led to the sea. I saw green and white waves tumble and splash. It's a perfect day to sail, I said, but I didn't get up. I didn't untie the ropes that held Lady Tia fast. Then something caught my eye. A black speck rose to the crest of a wave. It swam like an otter. Then it was gone. I saw it again on the next wave. It's too small for a seal, I said, but too black for an otter. There was no one to hear me. Maybe I was talking to Lady Tia. Maybe I was talking to myself. I put down my pipe. Green and white waves tumbled and splashed. The black speck was hard to find. It rose and fell with every wave. Wind and tide pushed it away. Soon I could barely see it. Then I had a terrible thought. I leaped from my seat. I ran down the ladder. The puppy was not in the cabin. I ran back outside. I stepped to the dock. How did she get out there? I untied the bow rope. She won't last much longer. I untied the stern rope. It's all my fault. I pushed the bow out from the dock. I need to save her. I stepped on board. All right, boys and girls, so we're going to stop right there at a pretty exciting part. And I'm going to ask you again this time to answer a couple questions for me. First of all, I just want you to tell me, what do you think is going to happen between Bill and Kyle with this dog? Because it seems like they both love the dog, and they both have a story to tell about how the dog is important to them. So what do you think is going to happen? Use your predicting skills. What do you think is going to happen as the story continues to go on? Okay. The other question I have is, Bill said so much that he loved the Lady Tia, which was the name of his boat. But then when his daughter went off to college or to work and moved away, he didn't feel the same way about the boat. And I want you to kind of explain that to me. How did he feel about the boat, and why do you think that his feelings changed? So those are your two questions for today. I hope that you have a great weekend out in the sunshine. And if you get a chance to answer these questions today, that's great. If not, go ahead and just wait until Monday when you get back to your schoolwork, and you can do them then. I miss seeing your faces, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.